Right, we are live. We are live in full effect, and we can let the conversation begin. A chance to kind of roll in here while I sort out uh, this mess of a game shelf that I have here. It's an absolute mess. Gaming shelf. Why does the camera seem so glossy? Hold on, let me wipe this down a bit. The camera seems a little bit glossy. There we go. I think it made a little bit of a difference. Got rid of some of that haze. What's going on, YouTube? What is going on, Y2K crew? What is YouTube just isn't showing me love? They're not showing me the same amount of love as they were before I went on vacation. So I guess what they say is true. Like if you pause at all with posting on YouTube, the second you stop, it's like you have to work to get back into the algorithm graces again. So I just do know that YouTube has not been kind of giving me the same push that they were before. So, but I did want to get on here. Sorry for the jittery camera, but I did want to get on here and have a quick live discussion on. Oh, sorry. Hang on one second. I'm getting a message here. Just giving everyone a chance to jump in here. Okay. Tristan, what's going on, man? Why don't you guys let me know? Let me know who's in the room. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If you're coming in here live, let me know where you're coming in from. Shout it out. Put it in the comment section. Let me know who you are. I don't have any moderators or anything, so I won't really know who's here unless you guys shout it out. So let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know. Let me know. Because I want to have a discussion tonight, right? I want to have a quick discussion. Aposeptic, what's going on, man? How you doing? Fan of the channel? I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, so I wanted to have a quick discussion tonight, and I really wanted to talk about what are the best ways to start a collection. Yo, what's going on, Wonder Knight? How you doing, man? I wanted to talk about what are the best ways to start a new collection in 2025. Because obviously people are still entering the hobby. Hermes, what's going on, man? How you doing? Yeah, so clearly a lot of people are just starting their collecting journey here in 2025. A lot of people are still, they're still collecting, but a lot of people tend to ask me something, especially when I do these lives, is people ask me, hey, Y2K, what do you think is the best, way to start a collection, or what are some of the best consoles to collect for? And to be honest with you, if I had to start all over again doing any type of collecting, I would probably be going for the low-hanging fruit. And in my opinion, the low-hanging fruit right now is still PlayStation 3. It's still Xbox 360. It's still, like NES, original Game Boy. It's stuff like that. I would not start a collection with anything from like the fourth gen, fifth gen, and in some cases even sixth gen, unless you're starting a collection with like very common PlayStation 2 games, because I feel like that's the more expensive route to go. I feel like there's so many cheap and easy ways to start a collection outside of just buying a bunch of retro games. And to be quite honest with you, I might just skip retro altogether if I had to start from scratch. And I might just start off with buying modern consoles, like modern games. Nintendo Switch or Xbox One. Like Xbox is super cheap to collect for. And there's a lower barrier to entry with modern games versus retro games. Lower barrier to entry meaning you don't have to hunt for them as hard. They're a lot more plentiful out there because the competition for modern games isn't as high. You don't have to worry about as much. You don't have to worry as much about resellers, scalpers. You don't have to worry about that because the resellers aren't out buying like Xbox One games unless it's something, like really rare, really obscure, something that was discontinued, something that got delisted. So I feel like modern consoles are kind of like the way to go. Um, Jay Gotts, he says start with the Switch or the PS2. I kind of agree with that assessment. But you guys let me know in the comments. What do you guys think? Let me know what your ideal console would be if you had to get rid of your collection, start again from scratch. And I've just got some games that I'm sorting out down here. But if you had to get rid of your collection and start again from scratch, what games or what consoles are you starting your collection with? Are you going fourth gen, fifth gen? Are you going sixth gen? What are you going after? Ivan, he says, I've been buying video games whenever I can from my local yard sales. That is, if I can find them. I appreciate, but Ivan, what are you finding? Like, what are you finding at your yard sales? Are you finding, fourth gen? Are you finding Nintendo? The odds of you going to a yard sale and finding a bunch of games like this just sitting on the table is kind of slim to none. You might see a copy of Metal Gear. That's, I think, a pretty common game. You might find a copy of Pokemon, but like not everyone is at a yard sale posting up Fatal Frame. Okay, Ivan says most likely Wii, Xbox 360, some PS2, some PS3. Yeah, so that sounds pretty accurate. What else are you guys seeing out there? Like I'm real interested, What are you seeing? He says Alan Bauer, Powwow is in town, so I've been looking at rummage sales, but all I find is PS3, Xbox 360, and newer. Right. So that's kind of like the what you're gonna find. Hermes says Saturn is the code system I'm most nostalgic for, and was always the first system I restarted my collection with. That or the Genesis. Yeah, I mean, for sure. Super nostalgic. I love those consoles, but I think like Alan said, it's really PS3, Xbox 360 or newer. But what are you guys finding out there? Let me know. What are you guys seeing out there? Because what happens is I'm based on the East Coast, right? Fumbles, what's going on, man? I'm based on the East Coast. There's a lot of competition out here on the East Coast. A lot. You've got resellers from all ages. We've got collectors from all ages. I mean, in my area alone, tons and tons of resellers. Like, just they never stop. You know what I mean? So, and even to this day, you've got resellers that are just hitting the Game Stops every day. So they're not going after buying 360 games. They are buying PlayStation 3 games, but they're not, buying the entire library. They're only buying some games. In my local shop, a really lame GameCube game it's still gonna get bought just because it's GameCube. Fumble said, I'm seeing a lot of Xbox 360. Right. Stop for 109. I live in Miami. Wow, it's like that in Miami? Sheesh. 110, well, after taxes, you're probably paying somewhere around 120. So 120 bucks for what? 120 bucks for a Tamagotchi game? Was that on the game? What system was that on, by the way? GameCube? What was that? 90s Fresh. What's going on, man? Alan Bauer says, collecting wise, I've been focusing on TurboGrafx 16, HU cards, and Japanese Sega Saturn games. I mean, that's smart. You don't have as much competition with that. It's not as rough. Because not many people are going for import stuff. And that's I feel like that's such an untapped market that people just are sleeping on. Um, but good on you for diving into that. Fumble says, it is of it says it is of you don't get the if you don't get there early, right. So if you don't get there early, you're gonna lose out. You're right. If you're not first in line, you are not gonna get the opportunity to take advantage and get these deals. The one is for the DS or 3DS. Wow, a 3DS game for 120 bucks? That's crazy. Herm says, I'm glad I'm pretty much 90% done with retro collecting. I got around 600 retro games and 400 modern titles. I like to keep it around 1,000 games. Yeah, I'm the same exact way. So I just got my collection back under I just got my collection back under 1,000 games. It was like it was like up to like 1,200 games, and I had to sell off like a few boxes of games to get it back under 1,000. I really don't like being over 1,000 games. Fumble says, I'm seeing a lot of GameStop retro is hit or miss with the prices, but I noticed some retro stores on Long Island aren't putting price tags on their stuff. So I did notice that too, like, which is a big part of the reason why I don't really go to Long Island as much anymore. I used to go to Long Island um, to get retro games, and there were a few stores that had like some really good stuff that I would go to. And what I noticed was that between like 2022 and 2023, a lot of their really good inventory, it was just like disappeared. It's not there anymore. They used to have stacks of quality Sega Genesis games. They used to have a lot of like rare Super Nintendo stuff. A lot of that stuff is gone, and they have like more common titles in the glass now. And I don't know if people are trading in their stuff to them as much, because I think if you're a store that has followed a model of paying people pennies for really expensive games and then overcharging them for games, I can't see how that's a model that's working for you in 2025. David says, out in Missoula, Montana, found a CIB copy Star Control for Genesis with a Genesis second gen for only 75 bucks this week. Don't sleep on small towns. I never sleep on small towns. Like, small towns are like, I wish I could travel to small towns more, because I feel like it's in those small towns that you find like those crazy deals. Alan says, best shmups in my opinion are on the TurboGrafx 16 and the Sega Saturn. Genesis is a close third. I do believe that Sega in general has the best shoot 'em ups of all time. Across the Saturn, the Dreamcast, and the Genesis, I think, yeah. I can't think of another like system. TurboGrafx is pretty good. I know there's some good stuff there, but like Neo Geo has some really sick shoot 'em ups. Um, and not for nothing, like Sony has some decent shoot 'em ups too. Like, you got to remember, on the PlayStation 1, you've got R-Type Delta, you've got Ray Storm, Ray Crisis, Einhander, In the Hunt. I mean, Sony, like the original PlayStation's got some pretty beefy shoot 'em ups, like some all timers on that list as well. So, but I'm with you on that. I feel you on the Saturn. GameStop had a Mario Kart 64 for $49.99, and they put the price sticker on the label. So we gotta talk about how stupid that is. I hate when GameStop does that. I hate when they put the price sticker on the label. Like, stupid, very stupid move. Like, Now, I have bought some GameStop games from their website where they put the game plastic sleeve. That makes sense, but yeah. Um, 90s Fresh says, no, Fumble says, Brooklyn Brooklyn Videos is good and Game Shack is good, but like I noticed the local one in Levittown isn't good at mostly common games with the store, but the retro store is a resource. So Brooklyn Game Shack is actually a pretty, for those of you who are familiar with the East Coast, Brooklyn Game Shack is a really dope game store. It's literally a shack, like it's like a hole in the wall, but it's probably like top 5 game stores in like NYC metro area. The dude there is pretty laid back, and they really do have some quality stuff. I've been there myself, and I know like during COVID and a little bit right after COVID, it seemed like they always had very good stuff, but it was because I think they paid the most for the games that they had. So because they had a really good trade-in values, people were trading in a lot of like their precious items there. So on any given day, you could run in there and find like a complete in box Neo Geo AES, a whole row of like Neo Geo games, rare Sega Saturn games, rare Genesis games. I'm talking Splatterhouse 3, just all kinds of stuff at that store. I don't know if it's still the same now, like because like I said, the good stuff in the market has like you don't find a lot of really good stuff out there anymore. Like I think a lot of people have sucked the rare, the more expensive stuff out of the market. Like for as far as like retro game stores go, you'll always get lucky. You can walk into GameStop and get lucky. I've walked into GameStop and gotten lucky plenty of times, but in terms of what to expect out there, it's really a luck of the draw. And I think it's like for that reason why I say if you're looking to start a collection in 2025, your best bet is going to be to go ahead and start with either the Switch or the PlayStation 2, like someone else said. I think the Switch and the PlayStation 2 are great places to start. Just because there's a low barrier to entry. There's still plenty of PlayStation 2 stuff floating around out there. Quality titles that you could get for cheap. You don't have to break the bank. You can find a PlayStation 2 console in some fashion in a lot of places. So I think there's definitely some credence to that thought process. Yeah, I'm a believer of that. Um, Let me see here. Uh, he says, I agree. Small towns have the best deals. Miss when GameStop would search local stores within 100 miles for me and have games shipped to free for free 20 miles away. They transferred it. So you've got a nice GameStop. Alan Bauer says game places all should have but I'm assuming he's saying better stickers that are made to peel right off. Yeah, I agree. They need to do a better job with those stickers. It's stupid. Like one day I found a copy of like Street Fighter Alpha for the Super Nintendo. They put a sticker right on Akuma's face. Like, dude, why would you do that? Like dumb, just really dumb. Anton the Go Go, what's going on, man? Dave Monto says another way to get collectors to give up their prized retro games is to trade TCG products like Magic or Pokemon. You can, but they'd have to really be into that. And I know there's a lot of crossover between hobbies right now, but I like to keep it games for games. And plus, I don't have any Pokemon or any of that type of stuff. I mean, Pokemon cards, that is. 90s Fresh says, I saw a copy of FF Fight for New York at my local GameStop last week for 119. It was missing the manual, but still not a bad deal. I feel like Fight for New York has gone down in value. It could just be me, but I feel like it has. I feel like there was a point where Def Jam Fight for New York was like a $250 game. And I feel like now it's down to like 150, 160s. Like that's one that's taken kind of a hit. And I think it's because more and more copies of that game keep surfacing for whatever reason. Like I feel like more and more copies of that game just surface. And like every month there's at least 3 copies available on GameStop's website. It's funny. Scar DX, what's going on, man? He said, I'm seeing many video game collector branching out into other collectible like vinyl, VHS, toys, figures, comics, cards, DVDs, and so on. Guess video game is getting stagnant, and many are getting and many aren't getting the views. Yeah, I mean, I think that if you are and you know, I there's a lot of YouTubers at this point who are just making video games about how they're getting out of video game collecting and how video game collecting isn't what it used to be and so on and so forth. And I think if you were doing it for the views, then you did a disservice to yourself because if you went and spent thousands of dollars on video games in hopes that your YouTube channel was going to blow up and it didn't, then yeah, you've got a bitter taste in your mouth towards video games and you're going to be that person who's chasing the next thing that you think is going to get you views, or you know, you're going to go back to what you were doing before. My two things, my two hobbies have always been video games. You know, I definitely feel where you're coming from there. Brooklyn Game Shack, I was about the GT Herc Adventure. They were supposed to sell it to me, but the day it was going to get it, someone got to it before me. I did see a copy of Herc's Adventures there before, I think on the PlayStation. I'm not sure if it was on the PlayStation or the Sega Saturn. Or PS4 is a great place to start. Scar says, as video games is getting expensive, many will go with collectible that is cheap and no scalpers. I agree. Um, but can we say that people are officially priced out of retro games? Like, is that where we're at? Because I don't think that's where we're at. Are we completely priced out? I know the pricing is high, but I feel like in some cases it's coming down. And again, even if you don't want to spend the money on retro games, you can start with modern games. You can still start with the Switch. I mean, the Switch is a great place to start. What are some retro games that people like but you don't? Ooh, that's a good question. What are some retro games that people like that I don't? I can't say that. I don't want to say that these are games that people like that I don't, but these are games that people like that I don't care for. So the first one is gonna be Earthbound. Like, a lot of people talk about Earthbound and they lose their pants and they go crazy when they find a copy of Earthbound. I personally don't get it. I played Earthbound on the Switch Online service because it's available on like the Super Nintendo Online. And one day I was home and I just like decided to play it, and I was like, "This is like an RPG. Like, why do people lose their mind over this? I don't get it." So Earthbound is one. Another one is like Little Samson. Like, I don't get that either. Like, I don't understand the Little Samson thing. I just don't get it. Um, Probably some more games that aren't as widely known as those would probably be like the Dot Hack series. So like the Dot Hack Mutation, like those games on the PlayStation 3. I've just never been like a crazy Dot Hack fanatic. Um, the Shin Megami Tensei games, like I've never really gotten into the Shin Megami Tensei series. I know there's a few games in that series that get really, really expensive, and I just never got into the Shin Megami thing. Like, never, just never could. The Call of Duty series. I'm not a first person shooter guy, so like really, you could almost say almost any first person shooter that people go crazy over. I've never been a fan of it. So none of the Call of Duties, none of the Gears of War. I know I probably lost like half of you with that. You probably are gonna all just like leave the chat right now, but it is what it is. Like Halo, Gears of War, Call of Duty. Never really been into those types of games. Um, I mean, those are just the ones that I can think of right off the top of my head. He said, I noticed with Fire Emblem Path of Radiance has gone down in price. Yeah, a lot of those have gone down in price. Like Path of Radiance has gone down. Um, a lot. Like a lot of those GameCube games that were like teetering on like Grail status have dropped too. Like Billy Hatcher's gone down. Wario World has gone down. Ikaruga has gone down. A lot of those games have taken and that's good for new collectors. Like if you're new and you're wanting to start a collection now, that means you can get some quality games. You can get some banger titles at a cheaper price because they're actually dipping right now in price. Alan Bauer says very good condition CIB NES Mario Kart version at a local game store for 300. Wow, CIB Mario Kart 300. Wow, I don't know if I would do it. Mike Francis, what's going on, man? How you doing? Greg, what's up, man? Based in New York, I've been collecting for a while out on Long Island. Nice. You got some competition out there in Long Island, man. Seriously, you got you Long Island dudes. Y'all got some competition. Ivan, honestly, I'd rather just have a smaller collection with what I want to own and emulate whatever isn't within my means or not as important to own physically. I'm right there with you. This is the reason why I have a fake copy of Hagane. I'm never gonna spend the money to get a copy of Hagane, and that's the other thing too. Like new collectors starting out, you know, everybody has their different opinion on reproduction carts. But I think if it's a game that's just so far beyond the stratosphere, dude, just I mean, if you don't necessarily want to emulate it, I don't have a problem with reproduction carts. I don't. I mean, I wouldn't. I'm not gonna build a whole collection off of fake games. I'm not gonna do that. But for the onesies or twosies that are just really far out there, yeah. I mean, I do have a fake copy of Hagane because I'm not gonna spend $1,000 for a real one. At least not right now. Give Chibi Robo a chance before you sell him off. It gets better as you get more battery power and tools exploring further in the house. The loop is a unique platformer. Yeah, I'm not gonna sell it yet. I still got it. I didn't get rid of it. I didn't get rid of it. Pokemon is the real deal. Yeah, I like the original Pokemon games. I definitely like the original Pokemon games, and I think that's another good thing. You could definitely start your handheld collection. Handheld game collecting is a great way to start too. Original Game Boy's got some bangers on it, so that's definitely an option. Greg says I'm a massive Halo fan, but I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, like I just Halo was cool, but just I don't know. I just never like the only first person shooter game that I semi got into was GoldenEye. That was it. My first person shooter, experience was born and ended with GoldenEye. After GoldenEye was a wrap. Do you think GameCube Switch Online will tank the prices of certain GameCube titles? I think certain GameCube titles are already starting to tank. To be honest with you, I think like certain GameCube games are already like on the downswing. They're just not like there was a time where like the Mario Party games felt more on the rarer side. Sunshine, Luigi's Mansion. I feel like those games they feel pretty common to me on the GameCube, or more common, and now they're in that like $50 range. Which if it's a retro game and it's a really good retro game and it's like 50, 55 bucks, to me that's like okay, because that's what a new game would cost. And if you're getting like a complete unboxed GameCube game for $50, that's like that's okay. Certain GameCube games are still pretty high, like Mario Kart, Double Dash, but that's because like I don't think those either of those two games are gonna move off of the GameCube platform, at least not physically. They might get an appearance on the Switch Online service, but that Double Dash is locked to the GameCube. And no matter how many times they've said that they're gonna implement like Double Dash features in the later versions of Mario Kart, like Mario Kart Wii and Mario Kart World and everything in between, there's just certain things about Double Dash that you can only get for the GameCube. I think that's a part of the reason why the price of that one is still pretty high. I was never an Xbox guy. Halo was never a huge draw for me, says Hermes. I feel you on that. Pisaledo says I have a Kid Dracula CIB game for Game Boy. I think it's a rare game. That is rare. That is really rare. Have you played Geist for GameCube? I have not, but I've heard of it. I've heard of it. I've heard of that one. Yeah, I mean, look, to wrap it up, because I didn't want to take too much time, but honestly, I can't remember who said it. If I'm starting a new collection in 2025, I'm going to, and I don't want to necessarily start with retro. I'm gonna start with the Switch. Switch to me makes the most sense. Biggest, most versatile library to choose from. I'm starting there. If I'm going retro, and I want to have a retro collection, I'm probably gonna start with a PlayStation 2, because PlayStation 2 games are sixth generation, which to me, I feel like retro doesn't officially start until you hit the sixth generation. Sixth generation. I know we're gonna say Xbox 360 and PS3 is retro. That's fine. I think like Xbox 360 and PS3, they're still in like modern retro purgatory. They haven't come out yet and emerged on the side of retro yet. They're still, for me personally, retro starts with 6th generation games. That's where it starts. And so if you want to go with the most modern retro, PS2 is where it's at, and it's where the low hanging fruit is at. Honorable mention though, DS. Don't sleep on the DS, man. There's so many good DS games. I keep telling you guys, stop sleeping on Thor, man. If you have a DS, go and get this game. It's super cheap, and look at those graphics, guys. Like, look at that. 2D sprite-based beat 'em up glory. Like, do not sleep on Thor for the game for the DS. DS is a great option, in my opinion, to start a collection. You've also got the Naruto games, Naruto Ninja Council 3. Dude, look at the graphics. DS has some amazing graphics. Those Castlevania games on the DS, the DS is the truth, and I think people sleep on it and give the 3DS so much like shine. But dude, the DS is definitely top tier. I mean, if you don't want to spend crazy money on Chrono Trigger for the Super Nintendo, here's a better version of Chrono Trigger for you. This is actually better. Yes, this is the best version of Chrono Trigger, in my opinion. You could play it on the Super Nintendo, you could play it on the PlayStation 1, or you could get the best of both worlds and play it on the DS. Forget the load times that you have to deal with the PlayStation 1. Enjoy the freedom of having having it handheld, and go out and pick this one up. I think this is a certified classic, certified hood classic banger, one of one. This is definitely one you got to get. Don't sleep on the DS. It's a great option for those of you who are interested. And yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know down in the comments. Once this video comes out, let me know what you guys think are the best options to start a collection. And I will catch you all in the next one. It's the Y2K Collector. You guys have a great Tuesday night or Wednesday night. Take it easy.